All right, let's be honest for a moment. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to enjoy testing your limits? They interrupt, you make passive-aggressive remarks, or behave as if your time and feelings do not really matter. And somehow we are expected to just smile politely and let everything slide. Well, not today. If you are tired of tolerating people who do not show you respect, then this message is meant for you today. I am going to talk about some very honest and maybe slightly controversial ways to deal with disrespect while keeping your calm and without giving up your self-respect. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you will have the tools you need to clearly show others where your boundaries are drawn. Let us begin with one of my favorite methods, which might sound simple but is surprisingly powerful: the silent stare. At first it may sound strange, just staring at someone. Really, yes, it works more than you might think. When someone behaves in a rude or disrespectful way, nothing confuses them more than a calm, steady stare with no reaction. People who treat others poorly usually expect a reaction. They want you to get nervous, stumble over your words, or maybe argue back. They want to pull you into their drama and make you doubt yourself or feel smaller, but when you simply look at them calmly without speaking, the entire situation shifts. Suddenly, the balance of power changes. I understand that it might sound slightly passive-aggressive, but think about it. There is something deeply uncomfortable about someone who refuses to react the way you expected. When you hold that quiet, steady stare, you are saying, without using a single word, "I am not playing this game with you." It becomes a way of taking back control without raising your voice. Sometimes that silent stare becomes the clearest and strongest no you will ever give. I remember a moment when this worked almost perfectly. I was sitting in a group meeting, and there was one person who kept interrupting me again and again, cutting me off every time I tried to speak. You know, the kind of person, loud, very confident, and acting as if everyone is there only to listen to them. At first, I tried to interrupt politely and continue my point, but he would not stop. So eventually, I leaned back in my chair, crossed my arms, and simply looked at him. I held his gaze calmly for several seconds, without blinking and without saying anything. The room grew quiet, and the tension became noticeable. Other people at the table started looking at him too, wondering what would happen next. After a few seconds, he became uncomfortable. He stumbled over his words and suddenly looked away. He did not interrupt me again for the rest of that meeting. That simple moment of silence achieved more than any argument could have. And what surprised me even more was that after that day, he actually treated me with more respect. It was as if he finally realized I was not someone he could easily talk over. Sometimes the strongest message you can send does not require any words at all. This method is more than just a clever trick. It is a reminder to both you and the other person that you do not have to react to everything people say. You do not owe anyone an emotional performance. You do not need to defend yourself to those who refuse to see your value. It is about protecting your space, your peace, and your dignity. Very often, when someone disrespects us, our first instinct is to defend ourselves. We try to explain our side, or we let it pass because we do not want to create conflict. But the silent stare is not about being aggressive. It is about showing calm confidence. It shows that you are grounded in your emotions and not easily shaken. There is another important part of this. People who are used to disrespecting others often do it without thinking. They have rarely been challenged or forced to look at their own behavior. When you give them that quiet, serious look, it is almost like holding up a mirror. You are not accusing them. You are simply letting them see themselves. And most people do not enjoy that moment of reflection. I have also noticed that using this approach strengthens your own confidence. When you stand there calm and steady, you remind yourself that someone else's words do not control how you feel in the past. I used to laugh nervously when someone made a rude remark, or I would rush to explain myself if someone questioned my decisions, but that only drained my energy and left me feeling frustrated. Learning to allow silence to exist in the room without rushing to fill it changed everything. It felt like a quiet but powerful declaration of self-respect. So if someone is rude, pushing your limits, or trying to make you feel smaller, try the silent stare. Simply look at them calmly and let the silence do the work. You might be surprised how uncomfortable it makes them and how strong it makes you feel. That silent moment sends a very clear message. I respect myself too much to get pulled into your negativity. Another powerful response to disrespect is something people often underestimate: silence itself. When someone says something disrespectful, one of the most effective reactions is sometimes no reaction at all. I know that might feel strange because silence can seem passive, as if you are allowing the behavior to continue, but in reality, silence is a deliberate decision. and often it is the strongest response you can give. When someone directs negativity toward you, they usually want attention, they want an argument or some kind of emotional reaction. But when you choose not to respond, their words remain hanging in the air, and suddenly they are alone with what they said. That silence becomes very loud. People who behave disrespectfully often expect a reply, they expect a debate or a defense, but silence communicates something very clear. I am not giving you my energy by choosing not to engage you. Keep control of the situation and quietly show that their behavior does not deserve your attention. I once dealt with someone who loved hiding insults inside jokes. You probably know the type, someone who says something hurtful and then laughs as if it was harmless. One day he made a comment about my work that was clearly meant to provoke me. Normally, I might have explained myself or responded with another comment, but that day I simply looked at him, raised an eyebrow, and stayed silent. I allowed the pause to stretch out naturally, and he suddenly became uncomfortable. He looked away, muttered something, and quickly changed the subject. Interestingly enough, he never tried that again. That is the real strength of silence. It removes the attention that disrespect feeds on. When you stop reacting, you stop rewarding the behavior. Choosing silence is also a way of choosing your own peace. It says that your calm state of mind matters more than someone else's opinion. It means you are no longer playing by the rules of people who treat you poorly. You are deciding what deserves your time and what does not. There was a time when staying silent felt very difficult for me. I believed that if I did not defend myself, people would think I was weak. But I started noticing something important. Every time I argued with someone who disrespected me, I felt exhausted afterwards. But when I simply let their words pass by without reacting, I felt lighter and more in control. It felt like I had quietly taken back my power. So the next time someone disrespects you, pause for a moment. Breathe slowly, look at them calmly, and say nothing. Let the silence exist. You may notice how uncomfortable it makes them and how peaceful it feels for you. Sometimes saying nothing communicates more than a long explanation ever could. Another habit that can protect your self-respect is learning to stop explaining your choices. Think about how often people ask you why you made a decision. Why did you choose that job? Why did you skip that event? Why are you doing things that way? Many people believe they are entitled to an explanation for everything we do, but the truth is they are not. Your life belongs to you, and your decisions do not require approval. Often, when people question your choices, they are not actually trying to understand, they are trying to judge. They may want to find weaknesses in your reasoning or compare your decisions with their own, and you do not have to participate in that process. When you stop explaining every detail, you reclaim your independence and quietly show that your life is not open for debate. People sometimes question your decisions because your actions challenge their own beliefs. Maybe you are taking a risk they are afraid to take, or maybe you are living differently than what they consider normal. Your independence can make them uncomfortable. So they ask questions hoping to bring you back into their comfort zone, but their discomfort is not your responsibility. I experienced this when I decided to change careers, leaving a stable job to follow, something I truly cared about. Many people reacted with disbelief. They asked how I would manage financially or why I would give up security at first. I tried explaining everything, my plans, my reasons, my hopes, but the more I explained, the more doubts appeared. Eventually, I realized something no explanation would satisfy everyone. So the next time someone asked why I left that job, I simply answered, because I wanted to. It was short, honest, and complete. The conversation usually ended there because without a long explanation, there was nothing for them to debate. There is something incredibly freeing about this approach. When you stop defending your decisions, you begin to trust yourself more deeply. You spend less time trying to convince others and more time actually living the life you want. Another important way to handle disrespect is learning to create distance. Sometimes the healthiest choice is simply to step back from people who repeatedly treat you poorly. This does not mean you hate them or wish them harm. It means you care enough about yourself to protect your energy. Imagine your life as a place with limited space. Not everyone deserves to stay close. If someone constantly crosses your boundaries, criticizes you, or fills your life with negativity, it is reasonable to step away. Distance can provide clarity. When you are no longer surrounded by their behavior, you begin to see the situation more clearly. I once had a friend who constantly made sarcastic comments about my choices, my work, my hobbies, even my taste in music. At first, I ignored it, telling myself that was just their personality, but over time, the jokes began to feel heavier. I noticed I felt tense whenever we met, waiting for the next criticism. Eventually, I decided to reduce the time we spent together without making a big announcement. I simply saw them less often. The change was immediate. I felt lighter and calmer. That distance helped me realize how draining that friendship had become. Stepping back allowed me to protect my peace and invest more energy in relationships that were supportive. Some people may say creating distance is selfish. They may remind you how long you have known someone, or say that loyalty means staying no matter what. But protecting your mental well-being is not selfish. It is necessary. You are not responsible for carrying someone else's negativity forever. Distance also helps you focus on relationships that bring positivity into your life. The more time you spend with people who respect you, the more confident and peaceful you feel. Finally, there is one timeless principle that remains powerful. Hold your head high when someone disrespects you. They often hope to make you feel small. They want to see doubt in your posture or discomfort in your expression. But when you stand tall and keep your head high, you send a clear message without speaking, "I know who I am," and your words cannot change that. Confidence can be unsettling to those who rely on disrespect because their influence disappears. When you refuse to shrink, your posture alone can communicate strength, shoulders back, eyes forward, calm and steady. It shows that their attempts to bring you down have failed. I learned this lesson slowly. There was a time when criticism made me withdraw. I would avoid eye contact and try to disappear, but over time I realized that every moment I stood tall, despite someone's negativity, I felt stronger. It reminded me that my worth did not depend on anyone else's approval. Holding your head high is not only about physical posture, it is also about your mindset. It means remembering that you belong wherever you choose to stand, and that no one has the authority to define your value. Life will always include people who test boundaries, question decisions, or speak without kindness. But you have the power to decide how much influence those people have over your emotions. When you respect yourself deeply, their negativity loses its impact. So remember, stay calm, use silence when it serves you, stop explaining every decision, create distance when needed, and always hold your head high, because true respect begins with how you treat yourself, and the moment you fully believe in your own worth, the opinions of others lose their power over you.